All right.
You do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, we are recording. So this is the first edition of what do we want to call this, guys?
We have nothing better to do
BHCW.
Friday night, BHCW.
We have nothing better to do
BHCW.
Friday. So we thought it would be good just to get together to talk about the shit that's been going down in the district for, I mean, I don't know, for the last 5 years, but really, I guess we'll focus on this week. And I guess I think for now, because we're trying to figure out a format, is it cool if I just kind of throw out a subject and go roundtable?
Yeah.
Kind of
Sure.
like McLaughlin group, and I could be grumpy and angry
Yep.
and yell. Okay,
Like the
good.
Seven Dwarfs. We can do it all.
Seventh Dwarf, that's right. So let's talk about, I guess the thing that's on most people's minds right now is, so last night, and we did an article on this, you basically had a mass removal of security and safety policies and procedures, right? So that those are all gone, right? And this is after a parent kind of brought up his concerns about there being a box cutter, and Dr. Varley not following protocol, and then her leaking an email to this to tap into, and all sorts of crazy shit. So then all of a sudden, after that goes down, suddenly there's this like need to sort of just erase safety and security policies and procedures. And then she sends out an email today talking about how great the district is doing with that, despite that there is no longer anything to hold it accountable to. And then after that, we find out like the SWAT team, using the term figuratively, descends upon CMS because somebody has a replica airsoft gun. And so within a period of 3 days, the security narrative becomes the main thing after 2 weeks of the district getting hammered on that issue. And this is something I know I disagree with. I think, I don't know about your position, Virginia, but probably Todd I disagree with. I disagree with Sean, I know that. And I knew me and Laura disagree on this issue. So we'll start with whoever. Todd, you were in first, or Shauna, you were in first. So you go ahead. What are your thoughts on this bullshit? I mean, this issue.
First off, an airsoft is not, it's not an airsoft replica. Like sorry, it's just a minor, as a firearms owner, that's kind of a minor gripe of mine.
Shauna, can you explain that actually before you dive into your, because I think a lot of people have resorted to Google.
Yeah, an airsoft is powered by air, just like it sounds. It shoots a pellet. It's not, there's no replica about it. It's its own category, other than some people call it a replica because a lot of them look like actual firearms, but it's not a replica firearm. It's its own category. New Jersey schools define it as a weapon. I kind of disagree with it being a weapon. It shoots a plastic pellet, but anyway. So aside from that little technicality, I'm actually not that far from you as you think, JP.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, that's good. That means you're right.
Against police in schools, I'm not in favor of. I kind of feel like I don't know enough about it to have a strong opinion one way or the other.
Okay.
No.
Well, what do you think? I mean, do you feel like, I guess there was some discussion on social media, and I'm not saying it, it feels very coincidental or curious, right? Like, it feels like this thing with Jared happens, and then all of a sudden, Dr. Varley is like the queen of security. And again, that was sort of part of the conversation, that I can't imagine that they orchestrated a kid coming into school with a gun.
Right.
I wouldn't, obviously, I don't think they would go that low. But it just seems
kind of a coincidental timing, and maybe is a good point for us to start having a conversation about this with the convergence of all of these issues going on. No, I don't. My biggest issue right now, and it's a coincidence, but the removal of the language, I feel like Dr. Varley has a tendency to tell us, oh, this is mandatory. We have to do this. And I don't trust that. In looking at the QSAC that she said we were going to fail if we didn't update the policies, that was I'm not going to call it an outright lie. It was an exaggeration, sort of a, misleading statement on her part. So I don't necessarily trust when she says that the new security policy is mandatory. We have no choice. We have to do it this way. So that's kind of where my focus is right now.
All right. Laura, I know this is something you feel very strongly about. So, I mean, I don't know if you have any thoughts on it.
I mean, the incident in itself, I am of the mindset and belief that you want to put someone in my school, my kid's school, it's going to protect them, then go right ahead. I have no issue with that. But if we kind of circle back around to policy and dive deeper into that, I think the issue is that it seems as if these policies kind of being, not that they were abolished, but I mean to the point of almost being secretive. It seems that these things are done perhaps in haste under the guise of, oh, we have to. But to me, having dealt with all the issues we've dealt with the administration, it seems as if it's more of a let's cover our ass. The least amount of information parents have, the least likely they are to use it against us. So whenever they make kind of a big gameplay, it's always a red flag, and then trying to dig through the bullshit to see what they're actually trying to do in the long run.
Virginia, who adds a level of sophistication to this group by knowing French, and she legitimizes our intellectual capacity. Do you have any thoughts on what went down today in terms of the police situation?
No, I wasn't around, and I didn't really follow that issue much.
Okay.
So honestly, I don't really have a position, and also it's very culturally sensitive, and you know, I'm not used to that kind of topic either personally. So I'm not a gun owner. I'm not familiar with all of that, and so it's a little bit foreign. I try to look at it as, you know, of course, having security in school is super important, and hopefully, you know, we will never have any issue in our own schools. So unfortunately, John, I don't really have.
So Virginia chickens out because she does not want protests in front of her house. Todd?
So I think, you know, as it was previously outlined, the timing of today's incident is just, I mean, it's almost unfathomable. I mean, it really is a surprise. But I think if we backtrack a little bit, and you know, the parent who recently has been speaking at the board meetings, advocating for school security, I don't think that he was necessarily advocating for police in every school. Now, if that's a decision that's made, you know, I think that's a topic for debate. However, you know, he was talking about an app, and he was talking about, if I'm not mistaken, walkie-talkies or a communication device of some sort that had a wide reach. I think that's fantastic if that, you know, adds a layer of security. I was really appalled that the administration wanted to accept his donation, but were unwilling to exactly allocate it where he saw fit. They claimed equity and said that they would divvy up his donation as they saw fit. However, it was just to be able to run a pilot, the way I understood it. You know, I think that they started to feel a little bit of pressure from that. And subsequently, that's where we found ourselves last night. And again, this is my opinion, but I feel that they literally removed these policies for fear that they could have been held accountable for what may have previously already happened. Now, fast forward today, not even 24 hours after they removed those policies, we get the email that comes out this morning that everything's rosy, we're great, we're doing wonderful. And my, exactly 4 or 5 hours after that email, we now have an incident at one of the schools. You know, and I think, look, it's there's a lot to unpack here in regards to individuals and coming out of the pandemic and how people are reacting and feeling about many different things. And I'm not going to peel this onion right now, but I do think that there's a level of instability in a lot of people, unfortunately. And as a result, I think school security should be number one, a priority for our district. If that means radios and an app, so be it. If they want to go further in the police in schools, that's a whole nother thing to unpack, right? But I do not think there's any error in the society that we're living in right now, unfortunately, that we shouldn't make that a top priority. I mean, I think we all want our kids to go to school, number one, to learn, but number two, or even number one, to be safe, right? We want to be able to say goodbye to them in the morning and we love them and we want to see them, after school or when we get home from work and, know that they had a good day just like we did, or maybe it didn't go so well, but everybody came home. And maybe it's in part because I'm from Colorado. I grew up next to Columbine. I knew the school well. That happened after I was already in college when I was still in Colorado, but I knew friends and family that knew people there. And, you never believe it happens until it happens in your area. And today is an example, and I'm very familiar with firearms, grew up with them. I'm an advocate for gun rights. However, I also, an airsoft can look very much like a real gun in today's world. And many of them even look like AR-15s, to be honest with you. So we don't really know what was brought. Was it a pistol? Was it a rifle? I'm guessing it might have been a pistol, because getting a rifle in school probably would have been pretty hard. But either way, doesn't mean the other kids may not have seen that and been like, what the heck is that? Why does he have that? Or, somebody said maybe he actually fired it in school or something. Okay, it's a BB gun. I get that. In my day and age, growing up with a BB gun was normal. But I think I read somewhere that New Jersey calls airsoft firearms, which technically would mean licensing in the state of New Jersey.
Wait, for real?
Yeah, dude. And to get a New Jersey firearm license, it's like approval through your town police and state applications. And so, like, how'd this kid get this gun? There's a whole nother thing that comes up. So anyways, I know I'm going on and on, but I think today is a real wake-up call. And it's a shame that our district did what they did. And I think, if they're looking to not be accountable for things that are in a policy, I think we have to really start asking the hard questions as well. Why did you remove this now? Because look what just happened.
So I'm not going to go into my whole police state narrative and scare people. So I think the first thing that I'm really concerned with, and I think everybody can agree with, is a lack of a policy and a lack of a procedure kind of removes accountability, right? So how do I know? So first of all, it's a framework of best practice. Your policies and procedures ought to be something that people can compare to what are other people doing, right? I think that's number one. Number two, I think, at least for myself, I've given up on the idea, obviously, of not having police in school, but I think we can all agree of having family input and oversight on some level of these programs. And this completely goes in another direction where you're removing something that I can at least look at, or that we can at least look at and say, okay, what does this look like? What are we in for? But I think the thing that's been nagging me, and I don't think any of us believe that this whole thing was a theater today. I think we all believe that there was a legitimate situation in the school where it happened. But I do feel the drama around it, and I kind of think about the kid that's in the middle of that, and the newspapers and the public emails. And it I don't know, for me, it felt kind of opportunistic. I think families could have been informed. And this is kind of, I always think about the kid that this happens to. And when this happens, all the noise that surrounds that and the impact that has on a child. And I guess that's the thing so look, I agree, do I consider an airsoft gun a weapon? No. Do I think it means a kid going to the police station? No. It's an airsoft gun. Do I think it warrants like the kind of exposure it got today? Intuitively, I'm not saying I'm objectively correct on this. It's just my opinion. No. But I also feel like this is what happens when people don't have clarity on what needs to get done, because today's response to an airsoft was very different to the response around the box cutter,
Yes.
right? And that's kind of like night and day. And why was the airsoft so much of a bigger deal than the box cutter?
Box cutter can actually do more damage.
Right.
The box
All right.
cutter is much more, if you're talking weapon, that's a far more serious weapon than a BB gun and airsoft gun.
Shauna, you can only come up once. No, I'm kidding. So
But let's, like, to your point, JP, like, there's, it's kind of in the same realm of discussing policy. It's procedure. And since our kids have been in preschool, they have practiced drills, and the drills over the years have gotten what I would categorize as intense. It's a lot. It's emotional, and I would even go as far as to argue the older they get, I think the more emotionally attached they get to these drills. And a lot of discussion I'm hearing from kids from today was, we practice drills every month, and today all we got was an announcement. Like, today would have been a perfect opportunity to practice that drill, knowing or not knowing what weapon, if there was a weapon at all. And then I guess my biggest personal issue is, how are we addressing the incident, whether it be a box cutter or an airsoft or whatever it is? We seem to not have a problem kind of scaring the shit out of our kids and then saying, okay, great, have a great weekend. Are we talking about this? Are we talking about, I mean, not that we need to always, how are we feeling? But this was a lot for kids. And, of course, the stories are circulating. I think it was a missed opportunity to have a dialogue with these kids who understand, on some level what happened today, and reassuring them, not like, I heard the announcement was something to the degree of, you're safe for now. And that's kind of it's like a loaded statement to hear. And then, like, okay, go to math, have a good day.
And math isn't that great either.
Well, that's a whole other Friday
that's
night.
That's not a topic for tonight.
And again, my comments, I was not there today. I did not hear the announcement. This is all hearsay, but it's interesting to consider,
All right, let's move on to nepotism. Here. I want to get to nepotism.
Okay.
All right, this is Laura's game here. So Laura, I think, was it you, Laura, who submitted the open request? Somebody submitted an open request. And and we got the settlement, and I don't know if the settlement is finalized or what's going on. I believe the judge still has to approve this. But there's a signed statement, and I don't know if this is an affidavit or what this is, but it's notarized. And as part of the settlement agreement, Dr. Varley indicates that, and I'll just read it literally. I might even share it here. Let me see if I could do that. Like, very high tech, because here at BHCW, we are the future. So
we are.
And that's sad. You should be very, very depressed about the future. All right. So number 4, as a result, I recommend the 3-man. So she's going through how this whole shit went down in terms of her hiring a family member. And I think, Laura, you're going to be writing something on this. But as part of this agreement, as a result, I recommend the 3 remaining candidates, including my child, blah, 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 without reviewing the board's nepotism policy and confirming the policy included an exclusion for student employees, as had existed with my previous employer. Following questioning, not before, following questioning by a member of the public, I contacted the council and immediately removed her family member from the position. I acknowledge my conduct, blah, blah, blah. But so basically what she's saying in this, what she signed off on this is very different than what she said at the meeting. And I haven't figured out how to share audio, but I downloaded the clip. And in that meeting, what she said is that she had consulted counsel prior. I mean, that she implied that, and Todd, this was a question you asked. Yeah. She consulted counsel prior to the meeting, and that she had reviewed the policy and that it was okay because it was per diem. So either at that time, so I'm not going to use, so she said something completely opposite at the meeting than what she said here. What she's saying on this signed statement is that she never contacted the attorney and that she never reviewed the policy at the meeting. She said she did both. So she leaves herself open to one of 2 things, or there's 3 possibilities here. The first possibility is I misspoke. That's going to be tough because those are 2 very opposite stories. The second possibility is there's an ethical violation in terms of how she guided the board and what she told the public at the public meeting. Or I don't know if this constitutes perjury, but this is a signed, notarized document that I guess is going to an attorney and a judge. So Laura and Todd, I mean, you know, Shauna and Virginia, of course, you guys are, I think the two of you have been on top of this for a while now. So Todd, I'll start with you. Like, what are your thoughts on all this?
Well, as you read that, and this is the first that I've heard or seen that, 100% contradicts what she said in the meeting.
Your face said it all, Todd. It was
I mean, I literally was like looking at that going, are you serious? I mean, to me, a signed document like that is perjury. Furthermore, you know, as a parent in this district, what else is she changing her story on or changing her tune on with whatever she feels necessary to say? But she very clearly, John, as you indicated, stated completely differently in that meeting. And I think we should definitely grab that clip and play that, because it's clear as day what she said. And she was very confident when she answered the question that I asked.
Laura?
I wanted to add, and I may be misspeaking because I'm not responsible for anything I say or do after 9 o'clock on Friday night. I believe it wasn't just one meeting. I believe there's record of this exact thing coming up at an additional meeting, whereupon she further commented, I believe it was at July meeting, after her daughter had been removed, I believe it came up again. And the second part of her narrative gave the impression that sometime after her daughter had began the per diem work with the library, that the lawyer had somehow realized he or she was wrong in the guidance they provided and immediately ordered her to remove her child. So as I don't know that it's public yet, but I had submitted Oprah requests originally to try and verify if these meetings with counsel had happened. As most of you know, the legal bills were so undeniably redacted to the point where you could not decipher a thing. We're hoping to soon get somewhat unredacted bills to hopefully show us when this meeting with counsel occurred and if there was guidance, what that was, and if there was an additional meeting. I am not going to make any accusations. I think at some point in some time she misspoke. Could she have lied? Probably. She's done it before. I'm not sure if this is again, we've got to do a little more digging. I want to know if this has been verified by the judge or if there is still a process coming. But I think this is important. And additionally, this case was being litigated for almost a full year, in which our district lawyers were collecting compensation for her defense. It is my understanding once you enter into a settlement, that money needs to be paid back if you are now alleging that you did violate. So again, I'm not a lawyer. I feel like I should be, but I think there's a lot going on here. So we could definitely talk about it, but time will tell.
Virginia, any thoughts on this?
Well, we should definitely clarify the position. What is it? What really happened? And Todd, I like your idea to look back at the clip and ask for clarification on these things for sure.
Let me see if you guys can hear it.
One or the other.
Let me see if I shared this with you guys, if you can hear it. I don't know.
It's in the meeting minutes too. Like it's in the official board minutes, which is
Here, let me play this. I don't know if you could. I'm going to see if you can hear this.
Half of the town and asking
Can you hear
to go
this?
up the hill, quite frankly.
Yes.
And last, I'd like to ask for clarification about where the library intern job was posted internally, meaning for staff only, or externally, so that the public just couldn't apply for this.
That voice is so sultry.
We couldn't have found parental volunteers that might have been interested in this before we opted for the employment recommendations that were just approved by the board based on the superintendent's recommendation this evening. Thank you very much.
Great, Todd, thanks for your comments. The first couple of yours were comments. I'll just let those go as is. Your first question was, are we serious about this plan? The answer is, of course, yes. We are very serious about the plan. And yes, the traffic study and the walkability that I talked about getting done this summer was not complete by the April 29th meeting. Our goal was to present as much of a comprehensive plan as we could at that date. We obviously did not have every single element. So yes, you are correct. We did not have every single element of the plan on April 8th and when we voted it on April 29th. Knowing that, we knew that we were going to continue working on that, both the traffic study that you heard about tonight, as well as the walkability. Walkability is something that we do every summer. We do that every summer with the police department. So getting that done this summer is no different than what we did last year, the year before, and every year previous to that. Regarding Dr. Varley, I don't know, can you speak to the permanent versus temporary and whether we have that specifically in our bylaws?
I'm not sure if it's definitely in our bylaws. Obviously, we employ a great deal of our staff members' children in the district during the summer. So I did reach out to our attorney and he gave us advice that if temporary, like a substitute teacher, an intern during the summer, or anything along those lines is fine. A permanent position, such as a teacher, I could not hire for someone who is related to me. The board could not hire someone who is related to them for a permanent position. But a temporary minimum wage position is perfectly acceptable.
And I think, can you
It was
just
posted on the website.
And I think, yeah, the last piece was, so you mentioned Apple Track, which is something that we know, which is kind of.
All right, they start going into the application. And again, I don't know whether she mentioned there that she did review the policy or didn't. I missed that again. I have ADD, so my mind just kind of goes into like off to space. I don't know if you guys caught that at all. I don't know. But she clearly indicated she consulted with an attorney on this.
I agree with Laura. I think there was another occasion that occurred because I feel like she had referenced it a little bit differently in the other occasion, if my memory's serving me right. But again, it is after.
Well, I'm worried to Oprah that because it might result in another position. Shauna, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, a whole bunch.
Give me your ugliest thoughts about it, Shauna.
My ugliest thoughts. Oh my God, she's a liar. There you go.
That's an opinion, right? You're not stating that as a fact.
That is my opinion. That is my opinion. No, it's very concerning that, and I don't feel I'm the only parent that thinks this way. Every time a statement is made, I have to question the veracity of it. There's been a lot of statements that she's made at various Board of Ed meetings on various subjects where I've thought, well, I don't think that's exactly the truth. Even if it's not, there's a lot of misrepresentation going on, a lot of dismissal of parent concerns. Todd wasn't the only person to raise concerns over her hiring her own daughter. They were summarily dismissed. That's a problem.
All right, let's go into our speed round. And let me open up our article.
Never doing a speed round.
I'm not. I don't tell you what we're gonna do because you guys won't show up. All right. Let me go to this. Not really speed round. So we're gonna try and do this. Like if you could give it to me under 30 seconds, or let's do a minute. A minute. Yeah, 45 seconds each. Let's go 45 seconds each. So Resolution A, approve the annual appointment of Stephen Hopkins as record custodian. And Shauna, we'll start with you.
Absolutely not. I've got an article that I've written for you. I don't know if you've published it yet. I went through every single Oprah request that was on the district website, starting with June of 2021. After a breakdown of what they entailed, there were roughly 20 that may have taken some length of time that were fully her responsibility. I don't think that warrants an extra position in any way, shape, or form.
Anybody want another 45 seconds on this? No? Okay, I would only say that there are definitely concerns about conflict of interest and how proper it is for somebody who has like 4 jobs, I don't know, 3 or 4 jobs already with the district, and who's also in the administrators union having access to those kinds of records. And also, I don't know how many positions this is now for the business office. I mean, I think we hired a business assistant for Oprah's
Yes.
already, and I don't understand why. And that the whole argument to that was because of and since then there's been a decrease in Oprah requests. So I'm not really sure what's going on. All right. The fabric. Anybody have anything to say about the fabric? The CMS? Any strong opinions? Donation of fabric.
It's not equitable. It's not equitable. That is my opinion. Not equitable.
I think every donation. I kind of disagree with you guys too. I actually agree with record this. It is being recorded, but I actually agree with Dr. Varley on not accepting the donation because I think the donation should have been vetted. Like that's a big decision that I think the community should have talked about. And I do think I do like the idea of.
Sorry to interrupt. Are you talking about the donation of the walkie-talkies now or the fabric?
Yeah, the walkie-talkies.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. But I think, I don't know, man. I think you have to use common sense. I think the donation of the walkie-talkies is kind of a bigger deal. Fabric isn't,
Right.
So I'm going to take, I think this is the first time I'm going to take Varley's side on something. Right? Notice a board.
That face.
Did you just make a face at me? Notice of board meeting first readings. And this is like Virginia brought this up earlier, I think writing somewhere. These do not require the board secretary to notify the public of the meeting in writing. So basically they're gonna submit it to newspapers whose names they don't list. So they can kind of have meetings, put them in like newspapers and telegrams. I don't know what the hell is going. Like they literally use the word telegram. Like the telegram is an acceptable venue to inform the public.
Machine.
Does anybody know what the hell's going on with this?
No, and that's why I was asking the question on the forum. I was not understanding. I mean, I wanted to check if I understood it correctly. Does that mean that the Board of Education meeting will not be posted on the website? I mean, and if so, why? I mean, it should be kept public. Parents, families, residents should be able to go there and attend. And so I'm like, and also then if it's the case, is there a Jersey policy that forbids that or ask the school to make?
Well, they might be technically meeting it, right? Like I don't think the Jersey policy dictates what newspaper. I guess local. I'm not really sure. I know that there's some sort of newspaper that appears to be kind of sponsored by the district, and it's like all positive news. I'm figuring it's you guys know what I'm talking about. I forget the name of it. But it's not tap into. I'm not referring. This isn't like a side slap to tap into. I'm not referring to that. I'm wondering if that's the newspaper. Telegram. I mean, there might be some guy living in a cave that gets a telegram and that meets. And when they need to, they'll call him to the stand.
Smoke signals.
Yeah, I receive it.
Smoke signals.
What? Like who added that language?
I don't know, man.
That would be like the 3 communication specialists that we have. They each probably took apart and figured it out. They're great.
Communication specialist recommended the telegram.
We've been told that these policies come directly from Strauss Esme.
Oh, really? Okay,
She's
so
said
Strauss
that on a number of
Esme.
occasions that policy changes come to us from a third party, which is Strauss Esme. And
yeah, again, deflecting and not taking any personal account or responsibility for what they're putting out.
Yes.
All right, let's go
Par
to
for the
our
course.
final thoughts round, which is whatever you want to say about the board meeting, the last 2 board meetings, the reorg meeting and the circus that was, what was that, yesterday? Okay, most important thing or the biggest takeaway or the thing that you're most worried about or the thing that you're most happy about, right?
Happy. Happiness is not synonymous with board.
Yeah.
I'll go.
Say what?
So I said happiness is not synonymous with the Board of Ed, anything.
Oh.
I am worried that the board still seems to be taking a game plan from Dr. Varley's book in doubling down when people say things that make us look bad. For instance, Dr. Forager's sheer intelligence and trying to save the board from violating their own policy to have Mr. Cianciulli be somewhat angry that he had not brought it up earlier. I just, you know, if the infighting's not going to stop, we're not going to get anywhere. And I think they need a wake-up call. They need a wake-up call like town council got. I hope that we can find one or two common threads within our community and get people motivated and speaking out. And I think it's okay for people to get a little bit angry because it seems to be the only way that makes people jump on their seats a little bit. That's it.
Okay, good. Virginia, any final thoughts?
I was thinking I'm going to plead guilty in the fifth because I haven't been at any of those Board of Eds recently, so I cannot give you any thoughts on what happened at the last two. So guilty of not showing up. You know,
No, it's fine. Any hopes for this year in terms of what's the one thing that you hope to see change?
Oh, for me, what I'd like to see is the having a more positive culture during the discussion. I think that would be really, really good to see, like, you know, collegiality and openness to different points of view and discussion. I think that would be a very positive change.
It's good that you missed the first two meetings. Shauna,
Okay.
changes that, you know, what the big takeaway from the last week or two?
I would like to see us have actual discussions because I don't think that's happening. Sometimes among Board of Ed members, but there is no discussion at all from parent to Board of Ed or superintendent. I was appalled at the way Angela Penna at the last meeting it was almost like Cy wasn't standing there. Cy's standing there. She didn't say, you know, we can't answer at this time. We'll answer you at another time. She didn't even say thank you for your comments. When Cy finished, she just said, is there anybody else who wants to come up to the podium and ask a question? And I thought, wow. I mean, that's worse than the arguing, in my view. So we've gone beyond the arguing to you don't even exist. I want to see that stop.
Todd?
I don't think there's a lot to get excited about right now, unfortunately. And I think that's the big problem is that right now we see way more issues than we do positives. And I think that really has to change. And it's going to start from within, but the way that they're still treating residents, like Shauna just said, I think the way that they're still treating other members, the example of Dr. Forger, what happened at the last meeting, the fact that we have a president now who is misquoting on a policy in regards to the being able to come back a second time if a resident isn't able to finish. And I mean, like, I just keep wondering, like, at what point, when do they wake up? When do they realize what they're doing doesn't work? And, you know, the classification of angry parents and this and that, you know what? Common sense has a little bit of a thread here as well. And they're just missing it, you know, and it's unfortunate. And you feel bad for somebody who doesn't have much common sense. And, you know, I may not have a lot either, but hey, you know what? You can also recognize it. And I think that it's just sad that this is the leadership that we have and the way they continue to go about it. You know, I was really hopeful that after the new year, there would have been a change of tone, just a little bit more of a positive vibe. And we didn't get that at all. So I guess we're in for another long year, unfortunately.
No, I'm pretty much in line. I think I'll just keep mine like bullet points. The practice of interrupting parents and the attorney interrupting parents. I mean, they're just kind of clamping. I mean, they're just not hiding it. Like, we just don't want you here. And then this whole like putting shit in newspapers that don't exist in telegrams. So that's a big concern. I mean, they're just doubling down. The thing that was interesting to me, I guess, and this is a small thing, and Laura brought it up in terms of Robert kind of criticizing Tom for not bringing it up in the meeting. And to be honest with you, I'd rather Tom bring it up in public because I don't trust those minutes coming out of the meetings anymore. And if I were Dr. Forger, I wouldn't be stating anything in those meetings because there's been a huge difference. There's been a huge sort of disconnect between what is attributed to people and what they say they said in the meeting. If you remember last year,
Yes.
Tom had to put out a statement correcting the minutes about something with the teachers and sort of the budget. My hope this year, you know, to be honest with you, I wonder if the game plan this year is just to give us back what we already had before the reconfiguration and say, see, things are improving. Like to make it so bad that that stuff, when they give it back to us, seems great and we're back to where we were at square one.
That's harsh. Might be true.
Right. So there's that piece of it. I also, you know, I think the continued like fake, you know, the continued like invalidating positivity, you know, streaming from them as math is falling apart, as people are having questions about policies, as people are talking about, you know, that sort of like we're, you know, I don't know, man, it just feels fake and cringy. And I think, you know, that's not so much it just pushes buttons with parents. You know, I think it just kind of makes people like, man, it's not like you're just doing bad shit. You're just kind of trying to really rub it in. So I think if they stop that, at least 30% of the shit goes away. But my prediction is they're going to give us back 75% of what they took away and say there's an improvement. You know, that's my guess, and that's optimistic. All right. Well, I want to thank my esteemed, you're not even colleagues. I don't even know what to call you people. The people that showed up to this. I want to thank the esteemed people that showed up to this meeting.
We're editing this, right?
No, I'm not editing shit. I'm drinking beer. Laura's giving me the finger. All right, guys. Sean is drinking wine, trying to hide it.
Did we?
I'm not hiding
it.
it.
Start. These are all of our opinions. The opinions.
Oh, these are all
opinions.
opinions.
They are
Yes.
not.
They're not like, you know, blah blah blah. All the legal
100%
stuff.
opinion. 100% opinion.
All right. And you can send all complaints about this video to Virginia. And you can meet her face to face at her house. All right, guys. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, let me end this recording.
Yeah, edit the part about me calling her a liar, please.
You're still recording. I got to figure out how to turn this
fine.
off.
Leave it in.
I will.
All right,
Later.
good night.
Sorry,
Good
hang up. I'm sorry. Like, take care. Have a